So I'll put it bum at the back of the seat.
Bum at the back.
Bum at the back of the seat.
Am I sitting up straight?
Look at you.
Look at me.
That's great. You're
Are we
here.
done? Are we
You've
finished?
done it. Yeah, brilliant. So wonderful to see.
And that's a wrap.
Welcome to Characters, a show where, in the dawn of AI, we are trying to better understand the human condition. Season 3 is all about our true colours, stripping away the grey and revealing what haunts, excites us and drives our purpose. I'm Jack, and as your host, I aim to provide our guests with a safe space, aware of potential judgment, to promote vulnerability, empathy and humility. On this show, we aren't focused on who our guest is, what they've achieved or their opinion on society. We've included links in the description for that. We're instead interested in how they overcome anxiety, deal with envy, or embrace forgiveness and gratitude. I really hope you can gain and grow from what our guest has taken a leap and shared for our benefit.
What do you imagine people say
Yes.
when they gossip about you?
About me. Well, it's nice to be talked about, isn't it? All publicity is good publicity. What do I imagine they say? I think it depends on who you talk to. So I think I am a bit of a chameleon in some ways. So if you were to talk to, I guess, the professional side of me, what would they say? Quite driven, probably. Friendly. If they were gossiping, though, they wouldn't be saying friendly stuff, would they? What would they say? She's an old bitch. Yeah, I mean, I think there's different sides to me. So there's the profile that you feel you should put out there, which is your best foot forward. And then there's what your mates say about you down in the pub, which is probably quite different. And I think I tend to battle that sometimes because with my mates, I'm an idiot. I fuck up all the time. I'm ditzy. I'm whatever. However, I don't necessarily always want that perception when you own your own business. So I'm constantly trying to straddle that. I guess not wanting to come across like too much of the Wally when you're working. I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Did it?
Driven.
Driven. Yeah, I'm very driven. Yeah, back to writing letters to Pixar when I was 11 or 12, being like, hire me,
Wow.
I'll create the next Lion King for you. So yeah, always been very driven. In the creative sphere, I guess quite different in Ireland when going to school, you're kind of told, be a doctor, be an accountant, be a lawyer. And I didn't want to be any of those things. I did want to be a doctor for a little bit, but mainly because I watched Grey's Anatomy. But yeah, very driven. I always knew I wanted to have my own business. I always thought I was going to take over the world. I kept diaries back then and I read back to them a few times and had a good laugh. And things like, by the time I'm 18, I want to do this, that and the other. By the time so I always had that kind of driven nature. Yeah, very driven.
Where did you think it comes from?
Where does it come from?
Why are you striving for success?
I think I never ever wanted a 9-to-5 job. I never wanted to be in the corporate world, answering to the man. And I was naturally very creative. I loved that world. But I also knew that world is very hard to make a living in. So if I'm going to make a choice to be in that world, I need to work fucking hard to make a living in that world. So I think from quite a young age, I always, probably why I went into design rather than various other creative fields, because that's one that you can make a living in, I guess. So I always knew I have to be the best not saying I am, but I'm saying I always had this in me that I have to be the best in order to stay in this industry, because this industry is very underpaid and very hard to be in, I guess, and make a living in. So yeah, I think, yeah, I just always strive to want to stay in this world and also make a decent living at the same time, probably.
So just tell us a little bit about what it is your business is and what you run, just for the sake of the people watching.
Yeah. For those two people, I would say, I'm joking.
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be more than two, isn't there, guys?
Yes.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You don't have
I
to
didn't mean
watch
that to you. I meant that to me. Yeah. So what I do, so I own an agency called White Bear. We're a creative agency, all based on this idea of white bear thinking. So I'm obsessed with psychology and human behavior. And there's this American psychologist called Daniel Wegner. He studied thought suppression, and he had this theory that if you were asked not to think about something, all you could do was think about that one thing. So with all of his volunteers, he asked them not to think about a white bear. And what he found was that those volunteers couldn't go more than 20 seconds once that seed had been planted and they were told not to think about something. So I became a bit fascinated about creating things that people couldn't forget, that were unforgettable. So I named the agency White Bear after that. And with all of the clients that we work with, our goal is to create a white bear for them. What is that one thing that is unforgettable, that's memorable, that's sticky, and that their customers won't forget? So that is kind of the ethos of what we do. Let's be memorable and unforgettable. And then when it comes to, I guess, the actual tactical side of what we do, like what are the services type of thing, we work with brands on their positioning, their strategy, their tone of voice, their personality. I always say, I mean, a brand is like a person. Like you asked me, what do people say when you're not in the room? That's what a brand is. It's your reputation when you're not in the room. People forget what you said. They forget what you look like, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So we create feelings. We create stories. We create narratives, starting with strategy, moving to kind of brand building, logos, color palettes, photography, illustration, all of that type of stuff. And then how does that all come to life at every touch point of a brand? Your websites, your in venues, your social, all of that type of stuff. So very much end to end, but it has to have that big idea. It has to have that smile in the mind thinking for me to see it as a successful project. Does that give you a bit of an idea?
A little bit of an idea. Fantastic. You've done that before.
Maybe.
Going back to and sort of drawing and being mostly interested in the not perhaps professional facing Kelly, but more the who you are with your friends, Kelly.
Yeah.
What do you wish people understood about you?
What do I wish people understood about me? So I guess even the name White Bear, I tell the Daniel Wegner story when actually there is another story, which is, we call it throw the phone in the Liffey syndrome, where the Liffey's a river in Ireland, right. Where you get the urge to do something you shouldn't. And that's the Kelly people who don't work with me know. I always want to do that thing that maybe you shouldn't do. Don't press the red button. So White Bear also came from that idea of the spontaneity and my love of adventure and impulsiveness. And what was your question again?
What do you wish people understood about you?
What do I wish they understood? I think, what do I wish they understood? I think that I'm more than just that bubbly, smiley person. And that behind that is a very driven, very determined person. I wouldn't say I'm misunderstood though, to be honest. What would I say? I don't know, really.
I think you said it.
Have I?
I think you said it.
I feel like I'm always I feel like I often find myself in the position where I'm trying to get people to trust me. And I think personally, I feel that maybe as a woman in design, that in my industry, there's only 1% female agency owners. There's only 17% female creative directors. And often I feel that when I'm in, say, a pitching situation, there's the male creative directors and agency owners who are full of ego potentially, pride, they're loud, they have opinions, they'll say this is shit, that's shit, they'll name and shame. And I think what I often say is I'm more of a listener, and I will do 10 times the job of X, Y, and Z sitting next to me, but I'm not going to come in here and shout that at you. And often I find that the challenge because I'm not the loudest in the room, but I am very thoughtful, I guess.
Sales.
Fucking hate sales.
It's the worst.
It's the pits.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely. Introvert or extrovert?
Ooh. Introverted extrovert? I guess the definition is someone who gets energy from other people, isn't it? An extrovert. I am definitely the type who does buzz off other people. Like I feel their energies. That sounds so wanky, but like I buzz off people. I love being around people. But I'm also the type who really needs my own time. So I love all of that, and then I'll go home and be wrecked. So maybe that means I am introverted, but I'm definitely not. I'm definitely someone who's better around people. I'm better when I'm out of the house. I'm better when I'm going into the studio. So it's a tough one to say. I think I'm an introverted extrovert.
What? Just going back to work.
Yeah.
What's it all for? What do you hope people gain from your work?
Yeah. What do I hope people gain? A lot of different things. I mean, I think in the industry I'm in the creative world, I'm nearly a little bit of a mercenary in a way. Is like I'm responsible for bringing other people's visions to life. It's not about me projecting my own creativity necessarily on other people's businesses. What I thrive off is understanding what people want to achieve, understanding their goals, and helping them visually bring that to life and helping them realize that in a way that they can't. So I think I really buzz off that. And especially if the client is brave. I have a bit of a mantra in work that when our team are coming up with ideas, if they come up with ones that make them a bit nervous presenting to me and make me a bit nervous presenting to the client, I'm like, this is the one we have to push. We really I love bravery, I love boldness. And I think when the client trusts us to be brave and bold and wants to be brave and bold with us or are brave and bold, that makes the best projects. And that's something I'm really passionate about from a client perspective. I think from an agency perspective, there's a number of things that really give me that kind of purpose. I think helping, the world's a really harsh place. It's brutal, it's grim often. And giving people a place to come and work where really you just get to have fun. We do work really hard, but that you can come and you can think of ideas and you can try new things and you can come up with things that didn't exist before. That I buzz off, creating a safe place where people can come and be kids. Because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So I'm just creating a place where adults in a hard world can still feel like kids and have that sense of curiosity and adventure. And I love all of that. So I guess that's what I would love to cultivate in our agency for a team. And then also realizing those visions for our customers. My love. Does that answer that?
On that note,
yes.
In what ways are you a difficult person
to work
with or for?
It can be very difficult. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can list reasons. I think I'm a perfectionist, so much like yourself. We mentioned that earlier. I'm definitely a perfectionist. And I know that can be the enemy of progress. So I think sometimes I can be tough when everything isn't done to my expectations. And not unfairly tough. I think I just expect a lot. And I do it to myself too. I mean, I beat myself up in the mirror all the time. So I think that can be tough sometimes working with me. What else would I say? I'm bad at timekeeping. I'm always late. That can be a pain in the arse. And I think sometimes I just love to have chats. Like, I love so many chats, and I can sometimes even see our team being like, yeah, but we have to get fucking work done. Like,
because you're going to give me it in the neck.
You're going to give it, yeah, exactly. I'll like chat away forever, and then be like, is it done? Like, Kelly, you just waffled like so much. So I think sometimes my love of chatting, and I love to chat to like ease stress. So like, I love to forget what time it is, and I love to hear people's stories. For example, yesterday, we have our very good friend Maria, who minds my children, and she finishes at 5:30. I came down at 5:30, started having a chat with her. It was 7:30, I think, when she left. And Dave, my husband, came home, and he was like, the kids are fucking starving. And it's like, and they need to go to bed now. What were you doing? And I was like, we were just having a really nice chat. And I didn't want it to end. So I love sometimes to just forget time and chat. And I think that can sometimes be a pain in the arse, probably. Hopefully not for this podcast.
Yeah, well, the whole point in podcasts is chatting.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Have you always known that about yourself?
No, I don't think so. I've been told that a lot. So I get told by my friends a lot, like, don't lose you. And they'd be friends I'd know for a long time, because sometimes I very much get bogged down in stress. I can get worried about, like, making money, those things, those grown-up adult things that I hate doing that we have to do. And that can sometimes consume me, and I can lose that sense of fun, and I can totally flip the other way and become very introverted, very quiet, stressed. Yeah. And then it takes me going to a gig or going out with friends or something like that. And I'm like, God, this feels more like me. So I tend to flip between the two a bit sometimes.
What does make you most stressed?
Most stressed? Finances, I would say. Coupling that with trying to be a good mom. So I've got 2 little kids. So Sonny, who's 7, I was telling you about earlier, and Louie, well, her name's Lila, but we call her Louie. I branded her very badly as my own child, who should know what to do when it comes to branding. But she's called herself Louie since she was born. She's 3. And it's just very hard being a mom, running a business, working with your husband. It's amazing that we get to work together because you couldn't trust anyone more than your husband. So working with, sorry, Ben, you're great.
You're out, buddy. I do need a husband.
Yeah. There's a vacancy.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fantastic working together, but when all of your eggs are in one basket and you're both building that dream together, that can be very stressful when you have young kids and you are also living away from home. So you don't have the luxury of a granny nipping in or that type of stuff. So that can be really stressful because you feel you're never great at either. You're like, I want to be at my son's nativity play and I want to take him on his school trips and I want to pick him up after school. And then other times you're like, I can't do any of that. I really want to develop this, that, and the other. I want to learn something new. I've taken on a course. I want to do this, that, and the other. And one is just always like makes you feel guilty about the other one. So that stresses me, that challenge. definitely.
What brought you over
Here?
to England?
I think I've never been much of a home bird, to be honest. So when I was little, we grew up in the States. So I grew up in New York for a number of years. My brother was born there. He's living in Chicago now. And I mean, I was very tiny, but I think it had a big impression on me. I was there till I was, I don't know, about 7 or something. Moved back to Ireland. Actually went to Hong Kong for a little bit before we came back. Moved back to Ireland. Then in those kind of awkward teenage years, moved to the Channel Islands for a couple of years. So lived there, then came back to Ireland again. So I think I just always I grew up that way. So I just always loved traveling. Then when I finished my degree, I worked for a couple of years and I decided to take a year out and go traveling, which was in 2008 when everyone said, do not do this. There's like a financial crisis going on. You'll regret it. You're like, you've done 2 years now as a designer. Your career's growing. It wasn't. Don't quit and go. So I just quit and went for a year traveling, which was amazing. And I think I just...
Hit that red button.
Yeah, hit the red button.
Yeah.
Anytime someone says I can't do something, I was like, I'm going to go fucking do that. Hit that red button. So yeah, so I went traveling for a year and then I loved working in Australia. So I worked in some cool agencies over there, really loved it. But the 11-hour time difference with like family and friends at home just felt like a bit too much. I didn't think I could put down roots there. So the compromise was kind of, London's very exciting, so let's go there. And then we're 45 minutes flight back home. So that's why London, I guess. And then that was meant to be a year or two. It's been 15 years.
Wow. Amazing how it happens.
Yeah, and I just love London. I sometimes feel like a friend of mine actually came to visit me recently and we were on the South Bank and we were having a couple of drinks and there's a building there and I can't remember, it's got a neon sign and it says something like, I don't know, like this is home or something like that. And she's like, Kelly, this is where your heart belongs. That might be where your family and friends are, but like London is where your heart belongs. And I just love it. I do love it. Is
that signed and sealed in your heart or is that something that you need to be reminded of?
How do you mean?
As in, do you wish to go back to Dublin or is your heart here?
Oh, it's hard to answer. I think it's both. Like, I think I want to be around my family and friends more. I want my kids to know their grandparents more. They know them obviously very well, but like I want them to grow up around their cousins. I want my like friends who knew me from when I was little. I want to be around those people. So I sometimes think living in London doesn't outweigh the value that's there. Like you can be inspired by so much in London, have so many great nights out, do so many cool things. But if you're not doing them with the people you love, obviously I'm very lucky that I have my husband Dave and my kids here. But sometimes it can feel a bit isolating. So I'm very much torn between the two.
And you're obviously a people person, even though you're an introverted extrovert.
I don't know. Maybe I am.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it, you know.
I like people. Do they like me? I don't know.
Wow. What a journey. Lots of travel.
I love traveling.
Lots of moving around.
Oh, yeah. There's still loads on my bucket list.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot now, but I'm dying for my kids to get a bit older so I can bring them traveling. Like, I don't know if I mentioned about being dyslexic before, and like, I'm not like the book smart type of person. But that 1 year of traveling and visiting, walking along the Great Wall of China and all these different things, I learned so much more than I did reading books, as I'm sure anybody would. So I just can't wait to take my kids on those adventures now next too. Yeah, excited about that.
Tell me about envy.
Envy.
Are you envious?
Yeah.
Who do you envy?
Aren't we all? Who do I envy? I mean, I always wanted to be Eminem, so. Anyway, I'm joking, but I'm not. Who do I envy? Do you want to know a really cringy thing? Really cringy thing. When I was going back through these diaries recently, and I remember writing in my diary, Britney Spears, I've just seen her on the TV, and I think she's going to become famous. If I'm not as famous as her by the time I'm 20, I may as well die. I wrote that. Now looking back, I'm pretty glad I'm not Britney Spears. I'm not very envious of her. But who do I actually envy? I mean, it's really a bad thing, isn't it, to compare yourself to other people? And I'm so guilty of it. But when I do it, I always feel very bad about myself. So I try not to. But I think the older I get, the more I compare myself to what other people at my age have achieved. And I remember when I turned 29, when I was turning 30, I was like, oh, I set up my business. I've got married. I'm living in London. I've ticked all the things I feel I should be doing. I bought a house. I've done, like, I feel like I'm in a great place for turning 30. And funnily, next month I'm turning 40. And all of those boxes aren't as ticked as I kind of felt they might be, because 10 years you become quite retrospective, don't you? And looking back at a decade. So while I feel super proud about so many things I have achieved, I think I also feel I would have achieved more, which goes back to the driven side. So I think you have to weigh things up. Like, I'm so blessed to have two beautiful, healthy kids. Like, they're amazing and I adore them. But having kids and running a business slows that business down. And the first time I had my son, I didn't take any time off. I remember, like, I had a C-section, and I remember in the after the surgery texting a client and being like, I'm fucking smashing life. I'm like messaging clients while I'm here, like just had a baby. And then when I read those messages afterwards, I was like high as a kite on morphine. They made no sense. But I took no time off. And I think because of that, I probably got postnatal depression, I'd say. Like, I never really said I did, but I think it was very hard to balance those things. Like, I was back doing pitches a month. I remember I couldn't even fit in shoes. Like, I was so swollen. I remember ringing my mum being like, can you bring me over a pair of shoes? I don't fit in anything. I've got a pitch in a few hours. And like, so the second time I decided to take time out. So that was 3 and a bit years ago, and I took 6 months out, which was wonderful. But then when I came back, the business was like nobody had been doing new business because everyone was keeping the lights on and doing an amazing job. But there was a huge lag and that knock-on effect. So I think, like, in that 10 years, I think when I was 29 and I didn't have kids, I didn't anticipate having to, I guess, make such a sacrifice probably to my professional career for a number of years. So I try to make peace with that in my head, but sometimes it does drive me nuts. I know it drives my husband nuts as well. Like, himself, he's like, oh, I just want to like stay up and work late on this, or I want to do this, but like they're crying or they're sick or whatever it is. It just is what it is, and we're so blessed to have them. But yeah, it's that juggling act. That's the challenge.
Constant plate spinning.
Constant plate spinning. All the hats, all the plates, it's all going at the same time.
All the time. Oh, that one's going.
Exactly. It's like you can get stuck in fight or flight mode, which isn't a good place to be.
Do you ever feel shy?
Shy. Yeah, I actually put a post today on LinkedIn about shyness. Something, I can't remember what it said, something about those moments of self-doubt and shyness getting in the way of you achieving like what you want to do. Yeah, I do, definitely. A lot, yeah. Sometimes I think my over-speaking is to fill the gap because of the shyness. Yeah. When I was young, I was very, very shy. Like insanely shy. I remember my mum saying that we were on a beach when I was little, and this sounds so pathetic. I think I was about 3 or 4, and she just saw these kids throwing sand at me, and I was just standing there taking it. Like, I came over, I was like, the kids just, Mum was like, why didn't you ask them to stop? It's like, and as she said, she always remembers her dad saying, like, this one's going to struggle with shyness, like, you need to help her. So I was always quite aware of it when I was younger, that I'd set myself little goals to try and unshine myself. So I'd be like, you're going to talk to that boy in the next week, whatever. You're just going to talk to them. You know, it doesn't matter what you say, just say something. Or you might be terrified, but you're going to stand on that stage. And I'd set myself little goals. Throughout all of my younger years, you're gonna do that talk. You're gonna, whatever it might be. I'd set myself lots of those. So I think probably this is the introverted extrovert. I think I'm probably by nature quite shy, but I don't like that definition. So I try not to be.
What do those goals look like now?
Those goals look like now? Well, I'm terrified of having my face on a podcast, so here I am.
Here you are. You've done it.
I have, even if I have a shiny face.
Tick.
Yeah. So I was really, really, really nervous about putting my face on camera. And it's funny because inside I'm like, I'm born to do this. I want to do this. But that shyness gets in the way. And so like I'm here. So that's a tick. What other types of things? I'm still like, I'm going to host Saturday Night Live one day. I'm going to do that. Yeah. I'm going to win a BAFTA. That's still to come. So totally list off all these things that I still want to achieve. And whether they happen or not, they kind of inspire me to go after them anyway. Again, going back to the shyness, another one was I signed up to an improv. Actually, my husband bought it for me, but an improv course, because I was like, I really want to know how to be funny. I want to learn how to be funny. Because I'm obsessed with Saturday Night Live. I'm obsessed with comedians. Signing up to that, I was terrified of that, but I got such a buzz out of it. I loved it. Just constantly little things. I hate exercise. I hate it. And I'm not one of those people who enjoys it. So I want to be the fittest I've ever been at 40. So I started weightlifting. And that type of stuff scares me as well. I'm a fainter. So I get really nervous that I'm going to faint. So to a lot of people, they're like, yeah, you go to the gym now a few times a week. That's not a big deal. But to me, it is, because I get headaches, all these different things. So I'm like, I want to get strong. So I'm doing that. That was one of my things on my list. I've also set myself a goal to post on LinkedIn every day for 365 days. I set that one in September and I haven't missed a day yet.
Very cool.
Tried to get myself used to creating content that isn't just for a client. Yeah, I was also texting Stuart actually about I want to write a TV show too. So yeah, lots of things that may happen, they may not happen, but they give me a buzz.
Amazing. Yeah. So in what areas are you happy to be good enough?
Ooh, that's a tough question for a perfectionist. Good enough. I mean, I want to be better than good enough at being a mom, so I wouldn't be happy. But then I do not feel good enough. So I already have the low baseline for my own belief in being a mom. I always want to do better. My mom was the best mom in the world. So that bar is very high. So I always strive to do my best with that. Happy to not be good enough. I mean, I'm not very sporty. I'm not competitive. I'm happy to go. I did a half marathon. This is a long, ages ago, but I'm happy just to do it. I don't have to win it. I'm happy to be good enough. I want to be fit. I want to do those type of things, but I'm not the type of person who has to win, which maybe is a bad thing. Because when I go into pitches, I'm just I'm going to be myself and I'm going to talk about the client and tell them how I'm going to help them. But I don't necessarily have it in my head as I'm going to beat that person and that person. And so
are you competitive?
Yeah. I don't know. I actually don't think I really am. But maybe I'm afraid to be competitive because I might not win. I'm very hard on myself and I'm very competitive with myself, but I wouldn't say I really look that much at other people. I'm going to beat them at this or I'm going to win that. It's not really in my nature, to be honest. And I actually really dislike it. In some instances in the creative world, I've worked in agencies that are very competitive. People copying your work, people robbing your ideas. I've had all that stuff happen and I hate it. So again, with my agency, I'm very much about kind of, it's not about like, what's your one route and how is yours going to be better than theirs? It's like, how do we work together? And how do we create the best outcome? Because we have so many different minds and so many different opinions and brains on this. So I'm more of a collaborator than like a solo competitive person, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, being a founder of a business, but it's what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what
Absolutely.
it is.
And yeah, brilliant. Are you good at saying you're sorry?
What's that song? Sorry seems to be the hardest word that's come into my mind. Am I good at saying sorry? I mean, as an Irish person, I think I probably start sentences with "I'm sorry." So it's like, I'm sorry that I exist. I'm really sorry that I'm actually here. I know you asked me to be, but I'm sorry that I'm actually here. So I think, ooh, sorry. No, there you go. Yeah, I think I think by nature, I'm someone who does apologize, but I also can be very stubborn. When it's something that I really care about. So on the things that I really care about, I'm probably more stubborn. But I probably apologize for my existence 100 times a day.
It's hard, isn't it? As a people pleaser myself, it is. Yeah, you catch yourself doing it, don't you? And you're just kind of like, what's going on here? Like, it doesn't make a difference to this person. They're fine.
I know.
Or saying thank you 5 times for the receipt that they've given me.
Yeah. I know. It's mental, isn't it? Like in Ireland as well, there's like this thing that probably more Irish women, but we say goodbye 7 times on the phone and you're like, goodbye. Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. It's like we're so apologetic. It's just in our nature. God forbid you be confident and optimistic. No, that's not.
How dare you?
How dare you have notions about yourself?
How dare you? That's not allowed in this society.
Yes, exactly.
What are the best things you learnt from your parents?
Ooh, the best things I learned from my parents. There's a lot of them. I mean, I'd say from my mum, it's definitely about, God, so many things. Having the crack, like having a laugh. And that goes back to when I can sometimes forget to do that. Often Dave is like, you need to ring your mum. It's like, she just makes everything just seem like it's just... nothing really matters, like just be happy, like she'd always be the one, forget the bottle of wine out and turn the music on and let's have a good time. So I think I learned that that's really important. We can take ourselves too seriously sometimes, and the older I get, the more I value that. I think as well, like my mum used to always say to me, don't ask, don't get. So even from a young age, so she probably instilled this in me, but like from a young age, being very shy, she would never ask for something for me in a shop or order for me. She'd be like, no, you go and ask the shopkeeper for that now. No, you tell them what you want. And she'd always get me to, I guess, ask for something or have my voice heard. And I think that's amazing. Again, looking back now, that when I do that with my kids, they walk around 2 foot taller when I'm like, no, you go and ask for that. Or if you want that, then, you know, so I think that was a really great thing that she taught me, to kind of have your voice heard and speak up for yourself as a very shy little girl. So I think that's great. I think from my dad as well, I definitely learned the importance of hard work. I don't think my dad ever had a sick day. Like, he was just resilient. Probably the way a lot of maybe Irish, maybe all men were in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, like if you want to achieve things, you need to get out of bed and go and do it. So I think the hard work and the resilience I probably got from him. Definitely. What else did they teach me? I mean, I guess, again, it's all come full circle now. I'm having children and I'm thinking about what type of childhood I want them to have. And I think with my mum, she always just made us feel really loved. She always felt like there was no rush. She had all the time in the world for us. Like which, as I said, my mum set the bar high. So me working and having kids, which my mum didn't work. She was with us all the time. I always feel like I'm never reaching that. But yes, just always feeling like you were the center of the world. Which is just a lovely thing to feel as a child, just growing up feeling like once I get home, my mum will sort this out, or I talk to her for hours, my mum will fix this. But she wouldn't fix it for me, she'd empower me to fix it. So we'd walk through situations like, when you're in school tomorrow, practice trying to say this to the other kids, or if they say that, what about if you said that? So she was great at kind of that coaching and mentoring, which I hope I can pass on to my kids.
Absolutely, don't we all? It's,
I know. Well, you've kids now as well.
Yeah. She's just, growing up so quick, and because I don't get to see her as much as I would like to, because the nature of it. It's you can't help yourself but sort of think about all these things, and then that makes you think about maybe the angst or the things that you hold with you about your childhood or whatever, and that kind of weighs on you, and you start to go, oh, maybe that was because they made the best choice they could, or they just did their best like we are trying to do.
That's the thing. And like, if you put yourself in their shoes, would you do anything different? You don't know. You haven't lived, you haven't walked the life that they've lived. It's very hard to say. And
it brings us back to that idea of, in what ways are you happy to be good enough?
Yeah. In what ways are you happy to be good enough?
Now as a parent, it really is that, because if you're constantly striving for better, then how can you possibly relax? Because we should be doing this now, and you should be feeling this now, and this activity or this party or this can always be better, or I don't know, as a mindset thing, just settling into, this is the thing that Kira's taught me. Absolutely, that just settling into the present, because I'm always in the future. My head is always what we're gonna do next. What do I need to do tomorrow? What's coming in 5 years? All of that stuff. But when I've now got into the habit of leaving my phone at home when I am with her. So I don't have any. There is no possibility, even if there's a temptation, to come away from what she's doing, what we're doing, or what moment we're in, or whatever it is. And so I think I've sort of found a bit of a good enough space in that. Yeah. Because if you're berating yourself about not being the parent in comparison to your mother or father or whatever it is, whatever comparison you're making, they're going to pick up on that, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're little sponges, aren't they? They do absorb all of that, and they can feel that energy, I think. Yeah.
No, it's a really important thing, and it comes living in the past, living in the future, that whole thing, living in the present. I think it all ties into that good enough idea, and because we have to push ourselves, society and everything, it's such a struggle, as you said, to just be able to sit back and go, no, this is all right.
I know, yeah. And I think London's such a rat race as well.
Yeah.
I know that. Who said that? Tired of London, tired of life. Oh, I've forgotten his name. I said that. Tired of London.
There you go. Let's just roll with that.
Let's roll with that,
guys.
Let's roll with that. But it's true. Like, you can get caught up in just feeling you have to be achieving, be moving all the time. Like, I brought some of my team home to Ireland for various projects, and I remember one of our designers go, people just walk slower on the streets here. I'm like, yeah, it's just a bit of a slower pace, which is good. Yeah. So I do think it's important to escape London sometimes and just take that breath and put away that to-do list and just be in the moment with your kids.
Who or what has stopped you from realising your full potential?
Who or what? I'd say at the minute, having young children has slowed down that. I'm not saying that they will stop me. I feel like the reality is I want to spend a lot of time with them. So that has probably slowed down me achieving what in my career I'd probably like to achieve. That's not forever. What else? Who or what? Probably self-limiting beliefs. I probably think I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in my 20s and thinking I was going to take over the world. And then you get into your 30s and you have things like mortgages and kids and all of these things that can weigh you down and maybe sometimes take your focus off what that full potential could be. So I do think with my daughter turning 3, I'm now coming out of that fog a little bit because I was that young. Like, I mean, my son was born, so I was pregnant 8 years ago and then just started to come out of that fog around 3 when he was 3 during COVID. And then I became pregnant again. And then during COVID, I couldn't leave the house because you're pregnant and it's COVID. And I do feel like there was a good 5 or 6 years where things just really had to take a back seat and you could just do your best. So I think I'm coming out of that fog now. My son started school, my daughter started nursery, and I'm starting to kind of think again, like, who am I? That's very deep. Who am I? Which is kind of nice. It's kind of exciting. And like, what's my next thing that I want to do? So I'm feeling quite excited about that again now.
Deep is the nature of this podcast, so
New name.
You're just fine. I mean, who am I? Is it, it's more about values, isn't it? It's more about what's important to you and having an understanding of what's important to you.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I think I was chatting to someone recently and I was saying, like, I used to be someone who would really, like, want to pick everything that I'd wear and I'd be really, like into fashion and into how I look and, like, in a good way. And then you have kids and you wake up and you're in the middle of Sainsbury's and you're buying a hoodie and you're like, how is this? Like, this is not who I am. How did I used to dress? How did, like, what is cool now? And you just could totally lose this sense of who you are because you become so consumed with your kids for that period of time. So I'm in that, like, finding out what my era is.
It just feels so not important anymore. All the stuff and all the things and all the for me it was just like, I'm not interested in having that because Kira.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the same price as an awesome day out with her. So why, That's true. That's very true. Yeah, like, I 100% would spend all my money on them and not myself. But that said, I also don't want to lose a sense of myself and how I dress and the things I go to and do give me a sense of feeling of who I am. And I don't always want to be at snotty kids' parties with trampolines and bouncing castles. I mean, God, you're missing
so many
out.
Cups of tea you can have. Like, sometimes when you go on a night out and you hear live music and you're like, oh, just like, this is the buzz I love. And I appreciate going home to my kids so much more than once I've had that. But
it fills you up as an adult.
Yeah. Like, I do miss those 20s days. Like, I do. I adore my kids, but, like, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only so much cold pizza.
Yeah, cold pizza. Ooh,
Cold pizza every time.
Yeah, the old
Every
Vicky
time.
sponge.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. It's funny though, because I've started this initiative recently that I didn't really know what it was in the beginning, but I don't really socialize with many people in my industry. As I mentioned, it's quite ego driven. It's quite masculine. And I just don't sometimes feel like they're my people. I love doing the creative work, but I don't love doing it for people to tell me how great I am. I just love doing it. So I started trying to look out of my own sphere, and started doing these kind of breakfast get-togethers with women. And we would just chat about, mostly women in marketing actually, because a lot of my customers are marketings and who are women. I was like, we tend to get on really well. Maybe I should invite some of them for breakfast. So I started to do this thing monthly where we go, it's kind of first come, first served. There's 10 people to go to brekkie. First person, people who get back to me, we go, we chat about like our challenges. We chat about all these different things. And what's really interesting is I found that all these people I spoke to actually were quite lonely. They were just really delighted to be invited to something that wasn't necessarily work related, that wasn't about going to a talk where someone talks at you, that wasn't a massive event where you end up looking at your phone. And it's like, no, we're just going to go for brekkie and have a chat. And I thought that was really interesting, that the reason they wanted to come was mostly because they were feeling quite lonely. And I think London has that. There's so much going on, but so many people live away from their family and friends, like their core group, and can feel quite isolated. Maybe they have young kids and they can't get out in the evenings, like myself, often. And also the more senior you get, I mean, like you and I, like we own our businesses. As you grow your team, you have to keep a certain amount of kind of professionalism. You can't be going out getting pissed with them. So there's that, like, I'm not going to make peer friends. And then also in large corporations, the more senior you get, the more isolated you get. And I have found a lot of women I've spoken to are like, I'm now the head of this department, so who do I talk to? And they're like, I talk to the CEO, and CEO's like, yeah, just even more lonelier up here. So I find that really interesting. We do that monthly. And I'm working on this title around calling it People Like Me, because the amount of people I've spoken to of like, I've gone to this event, but it's not very me. Or that kind of sounds that sounds like me. And it's just bringing together people who just want to connect and have similar challenges. So that's something that I'm quite excited about at the minute as well. I don't know how I got on that tangent, but there we are.
Tell me about the loneliness.
Tell me about the loneliness. Oh, the big word. Yeah, I think as I kind of said, I think being the owner of a business can feel quite lonely. You're in the boat with the team, obviously, but you're responsible. So you need to make sure you can pay payroll. You need to make sure you can answer to the clients and you deliver. There's a lot of responsibility there. And then I think as well, having young kids, you want to be home to do bedtimes, and then the evenings you don't go out as much. You just don't go out as much as you used to. So I think that can happen. That you can start to just feel a bit isolated, a bit lonely. And as someone who it transpires likes people.
Really?
I know.
It's amazing. It's a revelation.
It's a revelation. Yeah, you can sometimes miss that energy of, I guess, meeting up with a group of people and going out and just having a laugh, because you can get so weighed down in your to-do list. I couldn't possibly go and do that because I have to organise this, I have to then do that, and then this needs to be done tomorrow. Jesus, if I had a hangover, I couldn't do any of this. So I'm not even going to have a drink. Like the to-do list gets in the way, I think, sometimes of socialising and that connection.
Because perfectionism, because growing the business, because all of the above, basically.
Yeah, all of the above, exactly. Yeah. I had an old tutor in college who said to me, he was like, it was a good observation, but I hated it. He was like, you live on the edge, not like on the edge, like you're edgy, but like, he's like, you want to be in that like out there world, like that creative world, the kind of hedonism, all that stuff, but you're far too responsible. So like you stay on this side. So you're like this balance. And I think that's exactly what I am. I can get, like, I'm very responsible. I probably take on too much because I never want to let people down. I always want to do a good job. I always want to, give the kids the best. I want to do all these things. But then I'm like itching to go and do that other thing, that really fun thing. But I don't let myself enough, I think.
Big red button.
Big red button, yeah, press the button. Throw your phone, the liffey. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel
Yeah.
you live an ordinary or an extraordinary life?
Oh. I feel incredibly privileged for the life that I live. I always want more. I'm one of those people, which is very annoying, who just wants more, which I don't think is a good trait. But I think if I were to step outside my life and look, if my 15-year-old self looked at me and said, oh my God, she owns an agency. Oh my God. Or wow, she's had 2 kids. I never really knew if that was going to happen for me. Or she lives in London. I love London. Like, I do feel very, very lucky for the life that I live. That said, that I beat myself up every day about needing to do more, wanting to do more. In the same way as introverted extrovert, can I be ordinary extraordinary? I'm going to go extraordinary. Let's go all in. Be positive. I do feel very lucky that the position that I'm in. That said, I'm just fucking wrecked all the time.
What's ordinary about it?
What's ordinary about my life?
If you're teetering on both, what's ordinary about it?
Cleaning the house. Doing the washing. Like, a lot of time is doing bloody washing. So that brings you down to earth. So yeah, it's a lot of mundane. Go into the office, send those emails, do this job, put the kids to bed, do your exercise, eat healthy, like all of this like routine. I hate routine. And my life is like routine to the max.
Because you're responsible.
Because I'm a responsible adult who doesn't want to, I don't like adulting. But yeah. So I'd say that.
Have you ever?
Never have I ever.
Never have I. Never.
Taking a drink.
Straight back to school there.
This is vodka, by the way. Did you ever play that game where you do the Sting song, Red Light? Did you ever do that drinking game? You did that drinking game, Ben.
You're going to have to tell me that one. I'm far too sheltered for that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got it with Christmas do. All right.
Yeah.
Tonight, Christmas do. For God's sake. Have you ever sabotaged your own success?
Give me an example. I'm sure I have. Could you give me an example of what that might look like?
What that might look like?
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like teetering on the edge of that big creative thing over there, but not, as you said.
Yeah. I definitely would say, I love how I'd say I definitely would say before I knew what I was going to say.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I think I definitely do. I have it inbuilt in my head that I'm thick. So I think I tell myself that a million times. So if I'm like, I have an opinion on this, I'm like, hang on, Cody, your opinion's probably not right. So I think sometimes I don't say what I think as much as I should because I self-sabotage in my head and tell myself I'm probably wrong. So I think that's probably what I'm trying to get over. So like the LinkedIn thing's really helping because I'm like, I'm going to put out an opinion every day and get used to saying what I think. So I think from a self-sabotage point of view, probably that imposter syndrome is definitely there where you're like, I'm probably wrong. Someone's going to tell me maybe. So I think it's that self-doubt that can get in the way.
Has that always haunted you?
Yeah. It's the introverted extrovert thing. It's the edge thing. It's that always feeling like, I know I can do it. Like, I know I can be the best at X, Y, and Z. I know that like I'm like an undiscovered like gem. But maybe I'm not. So it's like this like confidence that then has a layer of self-doubt over it that gets in the way maybe of just being as brave and bold as I should be. And I do think, not to bring it back to being a woman, but I think there's a lot of conditioning that happens as to how you should behave. Women need to be liked. Like you can be called bossy and a bitch and all these different things so easily, where a man could be respected for having a strong opinion. And I think that conditioning from a young age of you need to be liked, you need to be polite, you need to care about people, you need to look after people, all of that type of stuff can get in the way sometimes, feeling that you should behave a certain way. I think that probably gets in my way sometimes.
Kelly, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we could make this happen.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Can we go another hour?
Sure.
How much is the therapy?
Ben, we'll see you tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah. Same time tomorrow.
Thank you for watching Characters. I hope you were able to gain and grow from our guests' vulnerability. To discover more characters, please subscribe to support the show and allow us to share more of our true colours. Here's the latest episode, or one YouTube has picked for you. Enjoy.